Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk when they see us. Today we're going to discuss a couple of topics dealing with the Central Park Five, the Exonerated Five. So today we're going to go around the room and do some introductions of our guest panelists, and then we'll get into the conversation. We'll start with Pastor.
Pastor Chris Lowry, Executive Pastor for Free Believers Church.
Donnell Thomas, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Kelsey West, Senior Pastor, Nehemiah Ministries Christian Church.
Shakara Artist, Direct Supervisor at Move Mental Health Support Services.
All right, thank you guys for joining us. April 19th, 1989, a jogger was raped and brutally beaten in the Central Park. While more than 20 kids entered the park that night, only 5 were charged and convicted of this horrible crime. Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusuf Salam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise. Let's talk when they see us. Ms. Artist?
Okay, so my purpose here today is kind of discuss what was going on in Harlem. I'm from Harlem. I grew up 4 blocks away from Schomburg Plaza, which I believe 2 of the boys lived in, might have been more. And at that time, our families were working class families. So when you watch the movie, a lot of time you hear, I have to go to work, I have to go to work. That's because everybody was working. You know, my friends' families were, they worked at post offices. My mother was working at an engineering firm. My father worked at Harlem Hospital. Everything was about work and providing for us. Like in our buildings, they may not have looked like much on TV, but there were pools. We learned how to swim in our buildings. Tennis was not an issue. We had video games. We had parks built inside of our buildings. Like everything was just great. Harlem was on the rise. You know, a lot of families had moved from North Carolina or different places in the South to come to New York to provide for their family. So thus work so that you could provide for your family was what everyone was doing. In 1988, that November 1988, my parents decided, okay, we're going to buy our first house and we're going to move you to the suburbs. So life as I knew it, Harlem, just seeing black and brown kids, changed for me. Until that day, I never knew anything outside of black people. And I thought Puerto Ricans were black because my mother was very light-skinned, almost could pass. And I just thought everybody was black. I didn't know until I was about 18. Okay, Samantha Melendez, that means she's Spanish. Okay, Manuel Clemente, he was Dominican. And then, you know, we just didn't know that. We just liked each other, got along. So when my parents moved me away in November, that around April, that's when the weather broke. I'm ready to come back and play and see my friends because they moved me into a place where there's no one that looks like me. So come April, I move back. I come back to visit. Everything's different. But see, until I saw this movie, I couldn't place why things were different. I just, you know, everybody grew up. The people I was 13 then. All of my friends were either dating or they weren't coming outside. Where are my friends? So at that point, I had no choice but to say, I'm in Jersey now. Let me make new friends, and I stopped coming until I moved back maybe 15 years later to Harlem. So the case really affected my life because it affected who I turned out to be. I would have probably stayed in New York. I probably would have never moved to North Carolina 2 years later because I couldn't stand New Jersey because there was nothing there for me anymore. And every time I would look, years later, I would look at the videos that were coming out about the Exonerated Five or just the case, and I kept looking at one kid and I was just like, if I knew one of them, which I felt like I should have known one of them, it would be this one. And it wasn't until the movie came out that I realized he was my classmate. But you know, Antron McCray was my classmate. We went to elementary school together. He was a year above me. But at that time, I was such in a dark place from moving. Everything was just moving so fast that I kind of blacked out. And I really couldn't remember him. But all my friends were online, you know, because we've all found each other on Facebook. Like, yo, you remember he was in our class? And it's just like you never really realize how things affect your life, you know. But I really wanted to paint the picture so that when people watch the movie and they're wondering why everybody was always at work or why they would leave their children, that's because that's what was ingrained into our parents work. I had a mother until she died in 2009. She had worked 30 years for the same company. You know, they had 401ks. There was, you know, these kids, though they weren't ready for college, there was an expectancy. They were in sports. They were in music. They were not just these bad kids. And had it not been Easter, that was their Easter break. They were out playing, you know, and got into something that they didn't know was going to happen. Right.
So let's talk Antron.
Mhm.
So based upon Pastor Laurie, talk to us a little bit about what you have learned about him based upon the situation.
Knowing the story and knowing the whole situation, it does. I think it does the same thing for everybody. It still puts you on your toes. Years later, you know, this is something that happened 30 years ago. But now we're in a day and an age where, you know, technology has changed, the times have changed, even social media has evolved. We have a way of knowing when this stuff takes place. It's funny that back then you can have this type of stuff happen and it really goes like almost like water under the bridge, because we are all raised and in a sense of, man, what you see, you don't say, you don't speak up. Like, especially born in the hood, you know, oh man, this just went down, but I ain't gonna speak on it. So when you look at those type of situations, it's a beautiful thing, the route they went to let this be known. Because at the end of the day, this type of story we watch it every day. The sad part about it is we turn our back on it a lot of the times. And that's why it becomes just water under the bridge to some people. Because even I watched a panel that they did. And in the panel, I believe it was Kevin was saying people wouldn't have took our story serious, or they would have took it lightly if we would have went to somebody like Spike Lee to do this film. We really had to go to who we went to. They went to a man named Ken Burns. He don't look like us. To give what our story, to give this whole situation credibility. And it's crazy at the end of the day. We do want to push some type of agenda where we get the credit, where we are ahead and all this type of stuff, but we still at the end of the day have to turn back and say, okay, I need this person to put this to get to another level with me. So at the end of the day, they have to do what they have to do. And it's sad, it kind of sucks, but because we should still have that same authority, we should still have that same power, but unfortunately, over the years, just as a people, it may not have been us in general, but we paint a picture or we've been raised in a mindset where it still sets us back.
I know, so with Antron, like, let's deal with the whole setup where he's in an interview room with his parents and his father makes the choice to convince him to say something that was not true. The whole setup. I mean, one of the criminal experts has said, like, at the point in which the tape was on, and the lawyer started to ask the questions, why didn't someone say, hold on, we need a lawyer? Pastor Woods?
You don't know. To those people who have never been in a back room with officers, keep your mouth shut. When you're in the back room with an officer, they're talking about giving you time. You want to say, call my mama, you want to say, call my daddy, you just want to go home. Now, out of defense, just a small defense, when you're thinking if you say what they want you to say, it's going to get you home, you do that. Unfortunately, that dad played a card, and his son can never forgive him for that. And for us as parents, this is why we need to be well versed when it comes to the law. Because if the truth be told, we put our children, sometimes we don't defend our children like we should. If the truth be told, sometimes we'll take the, we won't be that voice they need us to be. Antron's situation, when I studied him, away from just the movie, my heart, Corey Wise is my dude. But Antron is the one that I adopted as a brother because his pain goes beyond the sentencing. His pain goes beyond the perception. What that young man is saying is, I lost my daddy. And I possibly could have got through this situation better had I had my dad. So I think one of the overlooked messages in the movie was the importance of having your parents be your lawyers, even if they've never been to law school.
Yeah, there was another piece of it with the other documentary that I saw with Antron that was done earlier on in the movie. Like he said that, you know, my dad was my best friend.
That's right.
You know, and you know, well after this, in this documentary, he didn't want his face to be shown. And he talked about how his mom told him his dad was dying. He was like, all right. But not until he saw his dad in the casket and then realized, you know, that whole thing, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I lost my dad and my best friend. I know, what are your thoughts? Oh,
I see myself in all 5 of these students,
wow.
right? So I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. I grew up in North Las Vegas on crib turf.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we did not like the North Las Vegas PD. So, you know, growing up, you know, we used to hop fences to go play basketball. We would do things kids would do in the hood.
Yeah.
Like just to, I had a loving mother that kept the rod of correction on me, so I never, you know, would waver that way. But I see any one of those dudes could have been me.
Yeah.
Either one. It could have been a mistaken identity. It could have been I think I saw him, or any of that stuff. But you know, just to put this whole thing into perspective, when we're talking about the law, and Pastor West, you mentioned it, like we as parents, and all of us here at the table, I'm assuming are parents, we have to be a voice for our kids, man, because what that dad did, that was really the part of the movie that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
When he got into the interrogation room, the officer leaves and he really leans into his son like, yo, you need to come on, man. If you believe in your child, and you believe your child like you should believe your child, you're gonna go with what your child says, period. And whatever happens later happens later. I'm going with what my child says.
Yeah.
I've been in law enforcement for 15 years, and I always try to keep it 100, keep it a buck with everybody. Look, have representation. No matter what form of representation it is, have it. If it's a public defender, if it's a lawyer that you're paying out, have representation at all times. At all times, I beg you, because what happened in that movie can easily happen to you. It's easy. Like, and the way they did it in the movie, it was to me, it was tacky. Like the way it came out in the movie, I'm like, that's not real life. They wouldn't be able to get away with that in real life. The way it was set up in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, but that's a whole nother tactic that I can spend a couple of hours on. But the way it happened in the movie, that's not real life to me. But what is real life is parents being there for their children and being a voice for their kids. These 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, they can't, come on, man, the mind ain't even formed yet.
Yeah.
They don't know, they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, because they didn't know what happened to begin with.
Right.
All they know that they was in cuffs. That's all they know. They didn't know what was going on until they got down there. Then they get the story. Oh, somebody got raped. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
think that people never really had, at that point, like, we didn't have experience with the police. Like, the police
Right.
at that time were
Right.
still our friends. So when you're like,
Sure.
okay, come on down.
Right.
Okay, it's not
It's all
that
good.
bad. You know, you didn't see them like, oh no, I'm not coming. Because we
Right.
just didn't, like, our parents had never been in trouble. So they don't know, like, you know, unless you were in the Black Panther movement, some people, like, might have been a little skeptical. But
Right.
even parents, like my father, felt bad after really watching the movie, because he was just like, I always thought they were guilty. You know, people would kind of separate, like, oh, I'm above that. Like, we don't do that,
Right.
rape and all of this.
Right.
You know, it was just different then. Like, we didn't know. And that, there's no excuse for ignorance, but you just didn't know.
Just didn't know.
Yeah.
I know we didn't know.
Yeah.
1989, because once I watched the documentary, I literally became infatuated with the story. So this ain't something I've just watched once. This is something I've spent. It reached a point where my wife was like, "Okay, that's enough." Serious, because and then like even where I'm at right now mentally, people have no idea where I'm at mentally with fighting for my people. It's some ticky-tack stuff that means nothing to me anymore. Because when I think back to 1989, I'm graduating high school. I never heard of this story.
Yeah.
I never heard of this
Crazy.
story. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking back, and without even incriminating myself, I had to think about all the dumb stuff, juvenile stuff.
Yeah.
And when I say dumb stuff, just us playing, just doing
Dumb stuff.
dumb
stuff.
stuff.
Right.
Where
Dumb stuff.
Right.
had somebody said it's them,
Yeah.
I'm going, wow, that could have easily been us.
Right.
Because we did juvenile dumb stuff
Yeah.
every day, all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I read something somewhere where they talked about the wilding and the playing that they did in the park. That was something that, you know, happened often. And even with the two or three other people that got, like, I don't know, beat up or something in the park that night, that again was still, you know, typical of what happened in the park. Let's talk Corey Wise. One of the things that was really just remarkable to me was that this young man was just hanging out with his friend at the house. You know, police knocked. They asked, you know, can the Youssef come down and talk? Corey was like, you know, well, can I go? You know, well, you know, I'll go to support my friend. Police officer says, yeah, come on, you go along. And then to see the actual interview tape of Mr. Wise and how part of it is, you can tell he's not really understanding due to the fact that, you know, his whole hearing impairment, that whole thing, and him trying to be polite, and then him hearing, you know, just do, you know, say this and then you can go home. And then once he says it, you know, I remember at one point he took his hand and just kind of ran him through his hair like, oh my gosh, what did I just say? And then for his friend to can't come home, what was it, 7 days later?
Yeah.
And him to come home 13 years later. Yeah, let's talk Corey Wise. Miss Evelyn.
That's tough.
Corey, I mean, his situation alone just really, it struck me in a way that it hurt me. When I saw the Oprah interview and seeing, to me, like the effects of him being in that solitary confinement, both places, and you know how he was treated in those prisons, it crushed me. That's the part that just had me in a whole different place. So when we watch the documentaries, we had our boys sit there and watch it with us. And we want to, you know, make sure that they understand, you know, what's going on. And thank God, like, they were there, they were attentive, they were watching, they were understanding, we're asking them questions and, you know, just making sure that they knew what it was that they were watching and what was going on, you know. And so just to hear them even, you know, give feedback on the situation, it blessed me and my husband, because we're seeing that they're paying attention and they're learning and they're knowing. But yeah, it just affected Corey in a whole different manner, to where he just, I don't know, like when he's asked questions, the full answer doesn't really come out, because it's like he doesn't really know how to express, you know, the answer as a whole. So it just struck me. It hurt.
It's almost like he was, you know, there was a lot of he was very limited, you know, even with the way that he processed the whole interview situation. Pastor West, what are your thoughts on Corey Wise? Well, yeah.
When you study, and I'm going to use this term respectfully, when you study hood relationships, it's always a diverse group of young men or young women. So in every group, you know, you may have a cat, you know, your family got a little money. You may have a cat that may be considered slow, and I say that without offending anybody. You may have somebody who's poor, and so we look out for each other. When people see the movie, Corey Wise did what we were taught to do.
Yeah.
Y'all left together, you come back together.
Yes.
You don't leave your friends.
Battle buddy.
That's what we were taught.
Yeah.
You do not leave. Y'all leave here together. Y'all stay together.
Yeah.
And so
Come back together.
that's what he did. Now from an educational standpoint, he had educational challenges.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, we need everybody being true to helping children. Once you bring this young man in for questioning, what have you, and you see he has challenges, that's where the system needs to come in and make sure he has counsel. Yeah, there's no way he can speak for himself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Pastor Lloyd, Corey Wise.
I think in terms of his story, what really messed with me, like we all said, you know, he went on some support type stuff.
Yeah.
I came to come kick it with you, so let me roll with you. But what stood out to me was you got the most time out of everybody. And all you had no knowledge of anything.
Right. No, nothing.
And it's like, okay, it kind of messes with you because to a degree it makes you think, man, how can I really stand on my value when my value can leave me in the worst situation out of everything?
Yeah.
It's like if I tell Danielle here, yo, just roll with me, I'm about to go do X, Y, and Z, and at the end of the day we get pulled over, but at the end of the day, he don't want to get 20 years and I get 10. So all he did was just hop in the car to ride with me. And when I look at his situation, it messes with me the most because I have two little brothers who are autistic. They're still able to function in the sense where they can go out and play with anybody. But at the end of the day, let those anybody's get into some trouble and they're around, who's going to defend them?
Yeah, that's right.
Who's going to stand in and speak for them? And it's like, it's the same thing. You know, Pastor West hit it right on the head. You know, he couldn't articulate for himself. So of course, at the end of the day, like they say all the time, and when we watch these, this was like a situation where somebody had to go down for it. So we have an individual who really can't defend himself. So this is an easy target. Let's take it. And it sucks that easy targets will always get blasted first.
Yeah. It's I learned so much about, like, for me, there was layers of the Netflix series that I couldn't watch. So for me, I thought, okay, let's go research the story. So I did the documentary piece, you know, finding out, you know, the real life story. I can't even say that I watched the last episode of the Netflix series because of, like I said, there's certain elements of it that, you know, I just couldn't handle. Yeah. So with Corey, it was just kind of like he was the one that was in a prison, that the actual person that committed the crime came to and was like, let me just go. But he's well into his 20s at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been in here. I think at that point they said that he was in prison. He had spent most of his time in prison, you know. But then they still had to prove the relevance or the validity of the person's story that admitted to the crime.
And he had all the answers. He had every single answer and everything made sense.
Let's keep this 100.
Yeah.
It wasn't in with all due respect. Nothing had to be proven. When you look at this trial, let's keep it 100. There was no ounce of DNA that put those boys in that crime scene. There was no evidence. Once the young man testified, hear me when I say this, once the young man testified, once his DNA matched the crime scene, you still had a system that said those boys are guilty. To this day, despite the fact Netflix has made, this is their most popular documentary possibly, despite the fact the actor's going to win awards, despite the fact the director will go on and do great works, it's still people who say those boys are guilty.
Something to do with it.
See, that kind of it leads me to another thought in that, you know, we say the exonerated 5, you know, but all I think about is all the barriers that they yet have. You know, I haven't really found where, you know, it states whether or not they're still having to register as the sex offenders. But I think about that process, you know, how I seen somewhere where it was almost like a pride thing for the people, the prosecutor and all of those people, you know, they had to, you know. So, Mr. Ender, thank you for joining us today. So what are your thoughts on we're actually talking about Mr. Corey Wise and how his story and how his whole situation unfolded dealing with this situation?
So, my first interaction with the police, we moved to Las Vegas when I was 9. I was about 7 years old. I was in Toys R Us. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. We're down the country in Toys R Us, and me and a couple friends of mine are walking down the toy aisle. I'm walking down the toy aisle. and there's some WWF toys at the time. WWF, now it's WWE. And WWF toys open. Right. Still. And they're scattered on the floor. We're walking down the aisle. We see them because we got good sense. We don't play with those toys that are already open. We keep walking. Lady comes. A non-melanated sister comes and says,
I like that.
Yeah.
She said, thief. And so we're sitting there, we're looking around, we're like, whoever opened them toys is a thief. Thief, thief. Starts yelling at us. Now, this is before cell phones, it's before barbecue Becky, before all that stuff. And we're still walking because we don't think, she can't be talking about us. She's still yelling thief until somebody from the store comes to her aid. Our parents are next door, and a TJ Maxx or something like that right next door told us, we're big kids now. My cousins are big kids, so they can go with us alone to Toys R Us. Only for us to be standing at the front door, at the front counter of Toys R Us, in tears, because this woman called us a thief. We didn't touch the toys, and when y'all know my mama, she
Yes.
Yeah.
so my mama, she comes in and she look at the camera. Really look at the camera.
Yeah.
Right here.
Because special.
And look, and so this is at a very early age. They're calling the police on us
Wow.
because somebody opened toys in the store, and you go throughout your life with certain scars, right? And those scars. My mentor, Dr. Parsons, she taught me that those scars are negative pathways in your brain. So it has a negative pathway in my brain when it comes to the cops now. From 7 years old. Fast forward, get pulled over, drive through. I'm a church boy, so drive through the west side all the time, going to church, get pulled over by gang demon all the time. They see me in the bow tie because I'm a nerd, and they let me go, but I'm traumatized because of 7. So I cannot fathom what it's like to have all of my adolescence.
Yes.
I did some dumb stuff down there.
And let me real quick. I've been in law enforcement for 15 years. I explained that earlier. When I get pulled over to this day, I'm still traumatized. So to be a part of the organization
And I still got issues.
and still, like, come on, come on.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
I think we
I know
met-
all the procedures. I know everything to do.
Yeah.
Still, you see them blowing reds. It's
I think we may have been together. It was the first time I really had. Growing up in Michigan, I didn't know officers of different nationalities. Growing up in Michigan, I knew officers that knew my mom, they knew my family. So if we were wilding out, quote unquote wilding out, officers would say, "Man, don't make me call Sandra."
absolutely
No, please.
Right.
That's it.
And so
Please don't.
I'm pretty sure you on this college tour. We in Alabama.
Yes.
We check into a hotel for the college tour. There's a baseball team that I'm melanated people, and they're in the same hotel. Now they are wilding out on the balcony. They're having a party on the balcony.
I was there.
And
We were at
yes,
the pool at the time.
and yes,
Just
yes,
hanging out.
called a disturbance violation. So the sheriff comes, knocks on my door. So he's talking to me, and I'm sharing with him. I'm saying, "Sir, it's not my group, it's them." He looked me in my face and he said, "Don't worry about them." And luckily, my mom was in the room with me, and she said, "Kelsey, don't say another word."
Yeah.
Now, had I not had my legal representation, I may have said another word.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think about what would have happened in Montgomery, Alabama, had I said one word. And I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
Montgomery.
That's, you know what, it's really a profound thing. Like I was having this conversation with a couple of friends of mine just the other day, and I talked about the anxiety. I don't know why I just chuckled, but there's a level of anxiety that floods your whole body when you see the lights in the windows. So it's almost like, I know for me, it does, even with telling the story, whatever it is that they ask you and how you respond, it can come out as if you're lying because of all of the nerves and all the stuff that you got going on. So I think, like for me, when I looked at the situation, both with Antron and Corey, like, it's almost like a balancing act as a parent that you have to do with your sons, and even with your daughters. Like, you have to figure out how to teach them to be assertive, but not too assertive,
Right.
aggressive, but not too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in every situation, those things can be can be read as defiant, as
Totally different.
disrespectful. You know, so. With these children at the time, I can say that in every tape that I watched of their interviews, they all were very respectful. Yes,
Sure.
ma'am. You know, now the one that was really interesting to me was Raymond's tape, because it was almost like he was annoyed every time he would answer. Because it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you know. Because at that point, it was all because he was one of those people that he set out that. You know, no, I wasn't there. I didn't rape anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. But by the time they did his tape, it was almost like, okay, listen, I'm gonna say what you want me to say. Just let me go home.
And that could be the reason why. I mean,
Yeah.
if I know I didn't do something right, I'm like, dog, why y'all got me in this thing, man? Like, I'm gonna be annoyed.
He was, yeah.
So-
hungry, they're tired.
Yeah, I'm
like-
tired, I'm thirsty. Y'all ain't got me no water up in here, and I'm in handcuffs.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think, and people have a right to be annoyed. Like it dehumanizes me to say that I can't get agitated, that I can't. I mean, so I think everybody's seen the tape of the non-melanated mama coming to the scene, and she cuss out the cop, "Why the f you got my kids pulled over?" And I could not fathom my mama ever approaching the officer that
Not
way.
like that.
And she, do you know what I am? I think she was a commissioner or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm a commissioner, you got my child pulled over, da da da. And the kid that did whatever the officer said they did, the officer wasn't doing anything wrong, just
Yeah.
giving him a ticket.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I think me and Donnell had this conversation a few years ago. I'm a professional at pulling people over. That's my profession. Part of my profession is pulling folk over. I'm working with Congress. Part of my profession is going to events. I should always be cool, calm, and collected
At all
when I
times.
show up to
All the
represent.
time.
Right? You're not a professional. Hopefully, some of us have become professionals at getting pulled over, but I shouldn't be a professional at getting pulled over.
Right.
This should be an anomaly for me.
Yeah.
It should not be a thing that I'm a professional at. So, to the onus that we put on black folk to be a professional at getting pulled over is ridiculous.
That's right. I like that.
You shouldn't be a professional at this. I should be a novice.
Yeah.
I should be like, well, what am I supposed to do now, sir? The fact that I know as soon as I see lights, and I open the glove box and pull everything out before he get there, set it on my on my dash, and I have my hands right here, 10 and 2 when he walked up, and all the windows let down, and as soon as he walked up, I grab it. Here you go, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. I shouldn't be that cool about it.
That's fact.
And I shouldn't be
Yeah.
made to feel like that's
Yeah.
the only way I can
Absolutely.
live if I'm that cool about it.
Yeah, as a people, we shouldn't have to think to ourselves, a part of raising our kids is to teach them how to handle police. That shouldn't be a part of our, that shouldn't be a part of our DNA. I shouldn't have to, like, even when we get pulled over, I shouldn't have to say, oh, snap.
Yeah.
You go like this immediately
Yeah.
before he even get out the car and get to my car, just so he know I ain't got nothing.
Right.
'Cause 9 times out of 10, that's what's already, that's infused in our DNA. We
Yeah.
have to teach our kids, okay, when you get pulled over by the police, do this. When you get pulled over by the police, do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we even know this?
Right. When I get pulled over, I ask, and this just happened 2 weeks ago. It's not even really dark out. He said he pulled me over because I didn't have my lights on yet. And so as I'm interacting with the cop, I put my hands on the steering wheel. I have a dog with me, so I'm trying not to fool with the dogs. I don't want to reach. And so as he comes over to the vehicle, I say, I do have the information, but do you mind if I reach? You know, I'm watching this story and I'm hearing all of these things. And so before I reach for anything, it's like, man, in my mind, I'm just thinking, I really have to sit here and ask a cop as a grown woman if I can reach in my console and pull out my information.
I just think too, and this is just coming from a law enforcement perspective. We have people that wear these badges and put these guns on every day. That, and I'm gonna be totally honest, that are scared of their own shadow.
Yeah.
Me growing up around the people I grew up around, I'm comfortable being around the people that I'm around.
Exactly.
You got a lot of folks, and we could take this area command, for example. This is Bolden Area Command, right? probably 99% black over here. We'll just throw that number out there. But they have the opposite
Right.
working
Yeah.
the area command. And this is something that, you know, myself, shout out to Adrian Hunt, Dwayne Henderson, you know, guys that we came up in our, you know, law enforcement careers with, that we're doing to change.
Yeah.
This is something that I set out to get on this department to do, make a change, because we don't see enough of our faces. And another guy, Charles Jackson, he's a city marshal. He's doing the exact same thing. We're doing this thing so they can, so the kids.
Right.
Let's start here, so they can see our faces in these uniforms. Because when they continue to see people that don't look like them, their personal morale goes down. And that's the way it was with us, you know, growing up in Northtown. We didn't see any black faces in these uniforms. So naturally, we didn't feel comfortable. And then that's a natural feeling, to not feel comfortable, not seeing anybody that looks like you patrolling your area and wearing these uniforms.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
piggyback on that, take that statement and connect it to the movie.
Yeah.
Part of the movie that really ticked me off, and I want to really encourage you to watch, you got to watch Night 3. You got to watch Night 3. You haven't fallen in love with Corey Wise until you watch Night 3. I'm just going to share that with you. The part of the movie that really ticked me off, and this is what you got to think about, those were babies thrown in prison with grown men.
Yeah.
Now you put a baby in a prison with grown men. What ticked me off in the movie, if it was accurate portrayal, then it is what it is. They had brothers in uniform
Yeah.
turning their backs on them. And so one of the things we also have to face, because I sit on a lot of boards, so I share with officers, man, I don't need you holding us back.
Yeah.
And so that's a piece where our children, they need to be able to respect officers, regardless of their color, but especially when they look like us.
Yeah.
Man, you gotta have my best interest
Yeah.
at heart.
Got to.
It's really interesting. I know for me, like there are a lot of guys, a lot of men that I, you know, grew up with that are in law enforcement now. So my perception of the relationship between the average person and the law enforcement is a little bit different than I'll say my brothers, and they're younger. So when I talk and I have conversations about people like my relationship with those people that are in law enforcement now, it's almost like a foreign concept. Like, wait, that person's going to be there? Like, aren't they? You know? And I'm looking at it like, yeah, you know.
Right.
But I agree. There's when you have someone that looks like you that is in that position, not only like I agree that it boosts the self-esteem within that person, but it also it just kind of makes it real.
Yes,
It makes
so
it makes it
authentic, man.
it makes that goal attainable
Yes.
to the next person.
Yeah.
You know, we had a conversation just yesterday with my aunt about the young man that lost his life on the freeway. The car turned over. And she talked about an adult male that got up to speak at the funeral, but he was very much so like institutionalized. But he captured the attention of like 50 young men in this room. And the things that came out of his mouth were not the most positive, but he had the most impact on all of these young people. And I thought to myself, you know, if we were able to grasp the attention of most of the people that are under us or the young people that we're exposed to and impart something positive to them, you know, you could really do, you know, a really good thing there. Because I have two brothers that are still in the system. You know, that, you know, I remember one of them told me just the other day, he was kind of like, you know, well, it's hard for me because he has a lot of pride stuff going on. So another man telling him to do something, but it's almost like, you know, at this point you've been here most of your life. So, you know, what are you going to do? You know, but this is the one that's been in solitary confinement for a year because he chose to do some real ignorant, you know, and break the phone, you know, so I know for certain that when my brother comes home, he's going to be a totally different person. So let's talk about the trauma experience as a result of being wrongfully incarcerated.
Khalid Browder. I mean, I remember
the story in New
Yeah.
York. New York. Yeah.
when Khalid Browder came with the Khalid Browder story. I remember watching the first night and not being able to sleep. And then you watch because unfortunately that's not a foreign concept, right? I mean, certainly we're in Vegas, so we don't have Rikers Island, but it's not a foreign concept to be falsely accused of something, getting railroaded because you don't have money for a lawyer, then you plea out, whatever, or like Khalif just sitting in jail waiting, and the whole premise around the whole story, and then just to know that he'd already committed suicide, right? So watching the whole story, knowing that the way solitary confinement destroyed his already fractured psyche to the point where that man committed suicide, and then shortly after the movie came out, his mom committed suicide, and I think that's the part that we miss, like you were saying. When I go to the youth prison, when I go to every jail, I tell them, we're waiting for you. We need you.
Yeah.
Because it ain't just you doing time. It's your mama them, you got babies, it's all of us doing time together. And all of the challenges and barriers, and I think that's where institutionally, when you look at how much it costs to make a phone call, how much it costs to get some commissary, how much all of that costs, and if your family is not in a financial place to put up hundreds of dollars a month, then, and again, I don't think that people should not pay for whatever they did. I think it should be fair. I think it should be just. But the way that people gouge these people, and then you move them further away from the from the family. So I had a cousin who got picked up in Memphis. Interesting. He was all the way in California. With a wife and kids in California. So they had to fly to California just to see him. And what we know about recidivism is that the harder it is for someone to reintegrate into society, the more likely they'll go back to prison.
Absolutely.
So if I put you far away from your family, if you don't have money to get on the phone, if you can't get basic necessities, you can sit in there and put lotion on. If you can't do that basic stuff, you're more likely to come right back to the institution. And it almost feels as though, and according to Michelle Alexander, it is set up where that would be a revolving door. We were in, I'm sorry, we were in Florence McClure on Thursday. Florence McClure had New Path. And one of the most amazing things you'll ever hear is a woman who is getting her cosmetology license while she's in prison, saying, you know what, I've been back 3 times, but now I got my license. When I get out, I'm staying coming back.
Yeah.
I got a job.
There's 2 things to that. One, when it comes to being institutionalized, the thing that hurts my heart is the fact that, this is my personal opinion, yes, everybody should pay for the crimes they did, but in the same token, there's nothing really set up for those individuals when they release. Everybody needs rehabilitation in some way, shape, or form, because when your mind is set on a place that this is where I'm at least getting 3 hots and cot. It's like being homeless. I want to be on these streets. Let me go do something ignorant so I get put in it. At least I'll have a roof over my head and 3 hots and a cot, right? So when I look at those, when I look at that word institutionalized, when people are released, there's nothing for them to go to help them out to go say, okay, let's get you slowly integrated back into society. So for me, it's almost like an extension of just the 13th commandment, because that's still literally saying that at the end of the day, we're both away from still being slaves. So when it comes to jails, it's just another way of saying you still my slave. That's just how I look at it. It's setting you up for that. And then second to what you said, Ender, there are some people who know being on the outside is not going to help me. So let me go back in, and I'm still going to be able to get an education. I'm still able to be reformed in some way, shape, or form. So if I can go get my education on the inside for free, let me go ahead and go back. My record already looks that way, so then when I get out, I can go ahead and set myself up for business. I'm sorry, let me step out one second.
Okay.
Well, with that, what he was saying, I remember probably 2 good holidays. I have a younger brother. He's actually in prison right now. I have a younger brother. He is 35, and so he won't be out till he's in his mid-60s. I remember picking him up one time, and when we talk about institutionalized, our family is there for him. We had a lot of things that happened, but he still was I'm taking him to go get something to eat, and he's talking about noodles when he goes back to jail. And I could never at that time really understand that that's what it was. His mind was institutionalized, because it's like, why are we talking about noodles and we're going to go get something to eat now? Next 2 weeks, I get a phone call, he's back in jail.
Yeah.
So with writing him, yes, it is expensive. They do have now, I don't know if you're aware, but they have JPay, they have tablets, and so being able.
Nothing takes the place. I'm sorry if I didn't let you finish that thought. Nothing takes the place of human contact. So when you talk about solitary confinement, one of the things that I do without, I don't even look at the bill. I let cats call us collect. I do. It's people who I get frustrated because they talk a good game, but I'm putting money on your people's books. And so one of the things that I'm fighting for when we go to Carson City, we're fighting for bail reform. It's a lot of black and brown people doing time because somebody can come up with $1,000.
Yeah, you know.
$1,000. And so now, because mama couldn't come up with $1,000, now I got to sit for a year, 2 years away from my family.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring this back to the movie. And so when I take calls from cats who are behind walls, and we laugh about it, I have to take them to the boom boom room. Because they'll call me and they're like, man, take me to the boom boom room. Because I got to take them to a place to where they can escape just for a moment. So I'm talking to one guy on the phone, then I can hear the other guys around him. So as I'm talking, he's telling them what I'm saying because they don't have people that will take their calls. And so it's like sometimes I want to say ease up. You can't call me every day, but sometimes when the letters will come and it's like you have no idea. Had you not taken my call, I was gonna end it because I just need somebody to talk to. And so now I'm bringing this back to the movie, a piece that after the movie was over, I'm going back to Antron. The piece that messed me up the most with Antron was, he said now he's a father, and we don't talk about their children. Antron said, I can't let my children go outside and play. I'm paranoid. That's a whole nother, because we talk about inmates when they come home, people when they come home, but we don't talk about their children. Because it's a lot of children in school being raised by institutionalized parents.
And then if we look at the problem that we have, like we were talking about Carson City, we were talking about the policy, roughly $40,000 per inmate per year, $6,000 per year for students. And if you look at our graduation rate, and we all know this, like they're looking at third grade reading levels, and that's how they're deciding on prisons. But if we were to help, universal pre-K, one of the most disturbing things I saw, my 7-year-old now in preschool, in his pre-K class, and I'm that dad, so I'm there sitting over there bringing donuts to the teachers and everything. And I'm looking to see what they're doing, and they have a bunch of letters on the floor, and they said, pick up the letter. I said, hold on, my son can read. Why are you wasting my son's time having him identify letters he can read?
That's good.
She said, Dad, most of these kids don't know the alphabet. And so I'm thinking about a 4-year-old that didn't know the alphabet. I said, well, how are they going to succeed in kindergarten if they don't know the alphabet already? Because they need to be putting words together in kindergarten, so then in 7th grade, they can be doing, I'm thinking like above. But then I'm thinking about, hey, what if these kids' parents are incarcerated? Grandmama trying to have to get a part-time job just to take care of them.
She's already retired, and she got to work again.
You know what I'm saying? And so there are things that we can do that can absolutely decimate the prison populations, but because there are companies that make money off of it. When we were at the prison on Thursday, one inmate, she slid me a note. She said, you need to look into this company in the way that they are charging us for all this stuff. And I said, I'm glad you wanted to see it. But I'm like, that's real. These companies that make so much money, and they're fighting just as hard as Pastor West is fighting up in Carson City to make sure that we have bail reform. There are entities that are fighting to make sure, nope, because this is how we make money.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Go game.
Yeah.
It is.
I just lost my whole train of thought, but
No,
yeah.
that's what takes you, when you look at the movie and you go, why did Corey Wise get the 13 years? Why did the others get so many years? Going back to your 13th Amendment, going back to you can call it what you want to call it. But if I can get free labor out of you, and I mean no disrespect to my beloved country, but our country is built on free labor.
Sure it is.
It's built on free labor, and so you look at this situation. It's like, man, you know, I got to put money on books today because somebody need a what do you call it? A toiletry package. And so you would think, you know, for what you getting, it's not gonna cost me $50.
Right.
And the upcharge on these things is outrageous, bro.
Yes.
I mean, just
Yes, it is.
a noodle pack, right? Beef noodles, chicken, shrimp, whatever flavor you want. We pay 10 cents for it, right? They pay 90.
They making money when I pay a
Oh,
dime.
yeah.
That's profit. Like,
Oh,
it ain't
yeah.
like the
Oh,
10
yeah.
cents is breaking
They pay
even.
tax.
That's not right.
Putting the tax on
But
it and slapping the tax.
for me, it's like, even
not
with that, like,
100%.
Brother Carl says, hey, in my mind, he's like, you know, I need $100. But what I don't know is 50 of that is going to the
You
prison.
gotta ask when your people, when
Yes.
people call home and they say they need. This is what broke my heart. I have this dear brother in prison. Shouts out to my man Kevin. When we talk, he hoping to come home in 2025.
Yeah.
And when we talk, he talk like 2025 is tomorrow. Real talk. So I said, man, break this thing down for me, because I didn't know. I didn't know
Yeah.
what a TV costs.
Yeah.
What jeans cost. Pastor, it's cold. Can you put? I need a coat.
Did he end up telling you how much the TV cost?
Yes.
Yeah. And mind you, y'all, it's a 13-inch
Yes.
flat screen.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's in color.
Yeah.
They pay like $400 for the TV.
But see, my brother tells me, hey, we need to
It's
replace the TV you guys got. The what is it? The CO broke it. Well, look, hold on, wait. So those are the, you know, I'm not even gonna hold you up. When he would call when he first got there, it was the most annoying thing. 'Cause I thought to myself, man, look, I got like a 8 kid or something. Like, what's happening? You know, because it's like it costs and. What he then said to me, you know, you just don't understand. This is a brother that was in the hole for a year. You know, what happens when I get that letter? You know, what happens when I'm able to do, you know, go and buy stuff? Because he was already an uneasy individual when he went. Now he's super paranoid. So now at this point, it's like, I'm not eating any food. You know, so now you know, you don't really want to sit on the phone and listen to a, you know, 20, however long the phone call based upon how much money you sent of just paranoia situations. But to have someone, you know, hear you out is just, you know, it's profound. But that's what it was. When we talk about the barriers that they have when they come home, I think about the setup when they're here. So you have individuals that, based upon the environment, can determine, you know what, she's going to be in prison in a couple of years. You know what I mean? I don't believe that there's not a lot structured before they go to assure that they don't go.
Sure.
So the environment, what else you going to do? Like, I can only speak from my experience with my brothers. There was the dope boys in the neighborhood. That was who they esteemed to be. That was what it was attractive. It was the fast money. It was, I ain't really got to, you know, I can hang out all hours of the night. Yeah, I can do that. You know, and as a result of that, you know, like I said, I have 2 brothers in prison and 1 is deceased. But with not having that strong, not even if it's a father figure, but being able to hear something other than what you see from someone is just so important. But let's talk about drug use as a result of the trauma that you experienced in prison.
Huey Newton.
You know, if you,
See,
you know,
we're definitely talking about the exonerated 5, but one of the most interesting components to the story with Meek Mills was him talking about how he got addicted to opiates and the lean as a result of the anxiety, because they thought, let's put him in protective custody while he's in there because of who he is.
Sure.
But that made it worse for him because all along he doesn't really understand why he's here. You know, the judges, you know, that whole situation, and then now I'm just by myself. So coming home and being thrown back into that life that he had, you know, created for himself, he was like, most of the guys that I was in there with now, the way that they deal with the trauma that they experience, they doing all the drugs.
Self-medicated.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
I put a post on Facebook in preparation for this. Telling my man, you just named me, rest in peace, the brother who committed suicide.
Khalid Brown.
Okay, so watch this. So I'm doing research, can't name it right now. I'm doing research on this case. The medicine that they prescribed to him when he was in, one of the side effects is
Depression.
Yes. They're giving him this in prison,
Yeah.
and it leads to suicidal thoughts.
Sure.
And so when one of the things, that's a whole other thing we have to look at. I haven't been in the hole through prison, but I have struggled with paranoia, and I had to look at meds that I was being given by doctors for other stuff.
Yeah.
Not realizing it's feeding my
The serotonin.
paranoia,
The
Yeah.
serotonin.
and so that's a whole other issue we don't talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's I
I
don't
watch it
know.
every day.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know, a nurse could come to a module for a med pass, and a lot of these dudes, you gotta understand, they were doing this on the street.
Yeah, that's right.
So when they get into the facility, you know, they throw their little medical kite in. You know, I was struggling with, I don't know, anxiety or whatever, PTSD or whatever it is. Throw me them meds, dog. And guess what the nurses do?
Okay.
Right there, sure.
Got you. That simple.
That's simple.
It's that simple. A lot of people think that this thing is, they gotta go through loopholes. Nah, man. It's that simple. Just what I just told you.
Yeah.
That simple.
I was watching another HBO special with the guy, the Hussein guy. I don't know how to say his first name, but he does like this whole political stand-up talk show guy situation. He talked about how the legal part of the fentanyl inside of some of the medicines, the opium, like people, he said he had a friend that didn't even know he was taking the fentanyl inside of the pain med, but then OD'd as a result of fentanyl.
That's
You
what
know
I'm
what I mean?
saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm taking meds. If I don't do my research on the meds, I had no idea what I was putting in my body. And even right now, 2-3 years later, my body is still jacked up. I ain't even did that show yet. And so when I looked at Corey Wise, and I hope to meet him one day. I want
Yeah.
to meet all 5 of them. But when I look at those guys, I really want to ask them, man, what are you taking? What are you taking? Because there's a lot of people coming home with crazy addictions, and this is what's messed up. Once you get on that stuff,
Yeah.
come on, somebody.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when they sent the soldiers off to Vietnam, right?
That's right.
And the whole that's where it really started. The whole opioid addiction started in the United States when those guys came back home. I mean, I always reference the movie Dead Presidents.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
When Chris Tucker,
that's
you know,
right.
came back. I mean, you saw how being over there. I mean, when they showed the little snippets when they were in war over there, you could see that he was just so afraid, so scared.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, and Lorenz Tate's character comes back, and it's like they know each other, but they strangers.
Yeah.
Because Chris Tucker is this whole different cat. He this whole different dude. And Lorenz Tate like, oh, what happened? We was over there together, bro. Like, what's going on here? What happened to you that didn't happen to me? I need to know what's going on. So, I mean, we got to understand that, these dudes coming out of these situations, coming out of these facilities, coming back home. The transition is a difficult transition, especially when you've been in a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Now some dudes, they take their mind away from where they are and put it on the outside, which that's a whole nother thing in and of itself. To even be able to do that. That takes a strong heart and soul to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Some people do it. Everybody ain't that strong.
Yeah.
I think
It's not.
Yusuf was able to do it because he was Muslim and he
There
had
you go.
Muslim people within the jails that looked
Yep.
out for him.
Yep.
He had a community,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so he was able, and you can see the transition.
Yeah.
Doctor, he's focused, like
Even that's hard though.
Yeah.
Even having those people that are coming into the facility, they gotta leave.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you gotta have a strong heart to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you say Yusuf, this is why when I'm staring at your shirt. When you study the 5,
Yeah.
this is where the support system. Yusuf's mom was with him.
Yeah.
He had that support system.
Support, man.
The piece where it's Antron.
The 2 moms.
No, Corey. When you listen to these guys talk, and they talk about how they lost their support system through this. It's watch this. You can give them millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You can give them jobs. but you can't replace the loss of life.
Yeah, that's the time, like all the dreams, like they were just starting to dream, like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
I could play sports, I'm gonna go to college. You can't give them back that college experience,
Right.
all of that's
Right.
gone. And they were headed that way, like,
Yeah.
there was an expectation, like I said.
That's
This
real, 'cause like,
documentary actually helped me pick which major I wanted to go in.
Amen.
And then having my son sit down as he's 12, and I'm showing him this can happen to you any day. This is real life. There's not nothing to play with. And to see him cry,
Yeah.
it touched my soul, and it made me dig deeper.
Sure.
And so it made me pick psychology because I want to see how the mind ticks.
Yeah.
So I want to go into therapist counseling. I want to be the one to help those people that have problems with their mind. So this really touched me, even though I was young. I was probably like 3 or 4 at the time, but I'm just now hearing about it. But that made me pick my major.
Sure.
And
it's real and a loss of life, loss of time, because it makes me think of my dad. So he spent majority of my life in prison. So to watch him get out of prison, I was, 07, what's this? So I was at like 28 when he gets out of prison, 26 when he gets out of prison, right? So he gets out, and it's like he was there from the time of me being maybe about a year or so. So you missed all that life, not just of my life, but your personal life. So I can only imagine just watching him try to make up time,
Yes.
which is bananas. From just experience, from just socially, to going out, to hanging out, and you this old dude trying to do stuff that you should have did in your 30s. But in your mind, you saying to yourself, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all of us still want to experience life. It's just like when one of the exonerated 5, he was saying in an interview, man, when I got out, I had to go back to high school. And I'm thinking about that thing. I was like, you went in at like 13, you got out in 7 years, 8 years. Dude, you in your 20s going back to high school? It's crazy to us, but it's his real life, because I still need to get this.
Yeah.
I still, not just the degree or the diploma or whatever, but the experience.
right.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, because now I have to go back and experience things I should have experienced years ago.
Yeah.
So outside of PTSD, it's just the mental struggle of, man, what is this like?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I've been incarcerated for all these years. I can develop friends when I get out. That's simple. I can develop these individuals, but I can't cohesively connect with them because I don't know where you've been.
Yeah.
Or I can't say I've done this, so now I have to backtrack myself. Like that's bananas.
My Uncle Junior got out of prison. Uncle Junior Uncle Junior was a dope man all over the South. Like Mama said, it was like watching a Superfly movie going on. And Uncle Junior get out, and Uncle Junior finally somebody let him drive their car, and he do this right here to turn on the lights.
I know.
What?
Because when he went in, the lights was on the floor.
Yeah.
You had a button on the floor. That's how you turned on the lights. He go to the grocery store.
75 Court Over.
He go to the grocery store. $3.99. That's right. Who they talking?
Yeah, I have a friend like that too. Like when you get to now, you get to go in the in the aisle and just pay for stuff by yourself. You know, is this a setup? Like I don't think I in Target. No, this is not a setup. This is how we do. They're trusting us to scan our own items, bag them ourselves, and it's just like everything's changed.
Yeah, and it's hard because they matriculated, but in the system they matriculated in, it's completely separate from the way the rest of the world is moving. And so they're in this bubble, and you know they get on the phone with us every now and then. But as long as they're matriculating, they're still moving up or whatever. But the way they're moving is completely separate from the rest of society.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things I know for me, I've watched a lot of, like, I like to watch the way the men are maneuvering present day. Like I watched a video. Corey he's really interesting because lately I've been seeing a lot of videos of him, like he's out and he's partying. But even in those videos, it's a very different look. He's smiling, but he's still so uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, it's like he's 16. You know what I mean? And I look at there was a video that was put out of Kevin the other day. He's in an interview and he's sobbing. And I'm just so
I want to make sure I get quoted for this one.
Okay.
Put him on record.
Yeah.
They've been set up again. And this is what I want to share with America.
Propaganda.
This is what I want to share with America. You won't publicize their innocence, but you'll publicize the fact they got 40 million. Now you put me back in my block with 40 million.
Come on, man.
You bringing problems I don't need right
Bring
now.
attention to me all night. Real talk.
And they got it years ago, so it's probably about going. If you understand
Come on,
money,
man.
like it's gone. Like you know,
That's what I'm saying.
but-
We took half.
yeah. So they're probably living now
Oh,
off
they
of
got 40
like
million
they
as a
have to split.
collection?
Yeah.
They got-
But they have to split it.
But you telling my block I got
Yeah.
40
and
million.
that's 13. He got
He
about
lived in
13
a
million
apartment.
done. Yeah, like now.
And they have to split the rest.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's...
And that's gone, and that was back, they got that years ago, so that's pretty much gone. They're probably living off of like all the work they're doing now, speaking
Sure,
engagements,
sure,
because I'm pretty
Well,
yeah.
because one of them was a security guard. I can't
Yeah, I
remember
think
which one.
Antron.
Yeah, it was a security.
Let's
Oh, no,
just
Antron
hope
is
they
a
surrounded
civil
them.
service. I think he works for the civil service, like he's he's in the civil service. He does still live in Maryland, right? Antron?
No,
He didn't Georgia.
Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's just hope they surrounded themselves with people
He just is
that...
still very angry.
Yeah, that's the prayer.
Yeah.
That is
His
the
mother
prayer. That's
just
the
passed.
hope.
Yeah, his mother
Yeah.
just passed, so it just.
He said he's not even Antron McCray anymore. He said he changed his name.
Oh, wow. God,
And he's
well,
like,
God
I
bless
don't
you for that.
believe. He said, I mean, the video that I watched this morning, he was saying how like he just stopped believing. He did not want to believe in Jesus. Nothing. He ain't believing nothing but himself. That was his
Wow.
words. And then, but he said, but after this,
After
I think I will.
After this.
And that's when, you know, that's why I had the tissue just in case, because
Wow.
like this is like really heavy for me, you know, so,
It's tough,
yeah.
man. Wow. Wow.
Like he said, I had this money, but it couldn't save my mother who
No.
was sick. So like,
No.
what is really money?
Yeah,
Like y'all
what
can
is
talk
it?
about this little bit of money, but you know,
And
they
it's-
couldn't buy a kidney. I think.
The sad thing is, I think, like, in a few
Alone.
instances, we've seen people get exonerated and we're excited about it. But it always leads me back to who is the person that didn't happen to run into the guy who did the rape?
Right.
That's still in there. Who is the person that that didn't have a cell phone at the moment when somebody said that they did what they did? And all of these other folk who are still behind bars,
Right.
behind walls,
Absolutely.
upstate, across the country, and their hearts are still breaking. You know, and it's like, and, you know, I got a mama. You got I don't mean I have a mother. I got a mama. And if you ain't got a mama that's gonna be down and gonna ride and don't care what they say about my baby, I looked him in his face, because she looked in my face and said, I know you lying. And she also looked in my face and said, you telling the truth.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody like that, that's gonna continue and have the resources
That's right.
to do all the work. Because every time we turn on TV, once, twice a month, we hear about somebody DNA'd and exonerated this person. This didn't happen to that person. And there's so many people. And just, I think a couple days ago was the anniversary of George Stinney getting killed at 8 years old, being electrocuted. And now they exonerated him forever ago, like after electrocuting an 8-year-old boy. And it's so many systems that are set up just to enjoy it. And like you talk about Boom Boom Life, all them years ago showed us the game.
Sure.
What they said, the state of Mississippi got 35 years of free labor out of it.
35 years.
Yeah, speaking of, let's talk mass incarceration. And how, first of all, Donnell, let's talk mass incarceration. What is your take on
It stinks. Simple and plain. When you, let's just take the legalization of marijuana, right?
Talk about it.
So
Talk about it.
again, I've been in law enforcement for 15 years.
Just need another way to get you.
I voted yes on the question, legalize it. Because there are people out there that actually need this stuff.
That's right.
There are cancer patients that actually need this stuff. There are people that suffer from anxiety that actually need this stuff. Legalize it.
Yeah.
But just to step off a little bit, I have a problem with where the money has gone or hasn't gone on these taxes, because the Clark County School District is still 750 teachers short. when the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, every single year in their education department, half of their graduating class every year at least are education majors, but they choose to go elsewhere to work.
That's right.
Why can't we can use them here? Why is that? And I've spoken to a couple of teachers. I know a couple of teachers in Memphis, couple down in Florida, Georgia. They say y'all don't pay enough. Right. So y'all making more as teachers
Yes, sir.
in Memphis, Florida, wherever y'all from, than we here in Vegas,
And then
with no state tax.
And then those that
Wow.
do stay, they go to these charter schools or private schools
Absolutely.
and educate.
Absolutely.
I just spent 13 hours at one that needs to open on Monday, yesterday, to make sure it was good for open. And I'm walking around and the way it was set up, you're seeing all the signs of the teachers on the doors. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. And it's showing the schools they went to. That whole school, if I could have put it at a percentage, teacher-wise, was 70% UNLV teachers, student graduates. And I said, and I'm talking to the principal, and I'm like,
Was
yo,
that
what's
signature credit?
Huh? Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the one that my kids were taking.
And I'm like, what's the difference? He's sitting here with me the whole time hanging out. I'm like, yo, what's the difference? He was like, because we supply them with what they need.
Boom. Boom.
They can come to us and say, we need boom, boom, boom for our
There it is.
classroom. And
There
because
it
of the
is.
backing we have as a charter school and as a private school,
There it is.
when
Wow.
you go to when you go to CCSD, you on your own.
No. My
Man, 'cause
sister.
them lists,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Man.
My sister has been in the Clark County School District for
Yeah.
25 years. She's now a principal at Carolyn Reedham Elementary School. I can remember her when she first started teaching in 1995, making $12 an hour, having to buy all of her own school supplies, all of her stuff for her class, and watching her struggle as a mother at the time, too, young mother at the time, and watching her having to struggle to do that on $12 an hour. Come on, you know, I don't care what day at a time we was in 1995. $12 an hour was maybe a little bit more, but $12 an hour is $12 an hour. No matter,
Yeah.
as a teacher, come on now, that's ridiculous. That's a slap in the
But
face.
then you go back to when you spend $6,000 per pupil, $40,000 per
Come on, man.
person.
There you go.
And
There you
as long
go.
as you have that imbalance,
Where does the importance lie?
Because I thought I've been playing with this situation. I hear people talk about free college, and not to take our conversation there, but in preparation
Well, it's all
for
relative.
this, I had to take a step back and go, that's really possible. Because when you think about all the cats that we're paying for that's behind bars, if you were to take that money and start dishing out scholarships,
Look here. Look here.
mass incarceration.
It would flip then at that point. I went totally off the subject. But in a nutshell, it sucks, and we know it's targeting black and brown folk.
Talk about
It's not. They don't even keep it a secret anymore. It's not even a secret. It's targeting black and brown people. Simple and plain. Because we've seen it time and time again where you got two people that commit the same exact crime, right? Let's just say it's drug related. Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4 drug, whatever it is, possession. You got one dude that'll get a 6-month probation, the non-melanin, to get the six-month probation. The one with melanin in their skin, get the 3 to 5.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Even
And what's
What are we
funny,
talking about here?
where Donnell is at is the truth, because when you we're gonna stay in that legalizing weed. Let's just be honest. As a people, we extra. Let's just be honest. So you just told this whole city we can smoke. In certain areas we can smoke. Us, man, we
Oh, yeah, wild.
all over,
They wild.
all over the place.
Wild.
But others, I call them our cousins. They make sure they stay within the parameters. So now we done branched off and started opening up dispensaries, right? So we looking at it from the sense of, yo, how can we extra, right? How can I take this dispensary to the next level? So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna branch off into a plant. And I'm saying this from just a friend that I know is doing it. I'm gonna branch off and become a planter. So now I got my license to plant, right? Okay, so I'm planting, I'm supplying my own dispensary, but I'm not making money that way. So what can I do? Let me go ahead and start selling them what I'm growing somewhere else. But I can't yet because it's trafficking.
Right.
And our cousins is thinking the same way. So at the end of the day, the city says, okay, let's go ahead and legalize it where you can sell to another state. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to get my people just to get your people. It's the setup to me.
Yep.
You know, we're going to legalize it and we're going to still find a way to get you at the end of the day because this is what you want, but we know you about to be super extra with it. So now everybody can go ahead and distribute weed, marijuana to other cities, other states, and this, that, and the other, and it's not trafficking, just so we can make sure I don't have to get my vote because then I got to hit them with probation and all this other stuff. And I really want you at the end of the day. And we got to look at that stuff that way. You know, everything is for a hidden purpose, hidden agenda at the end of the day. Now we got to make sure when we look at it, okay, how do I stay in the parameters of this and not go to the extreme? Because we always take, you know, we get a little bit of rope, a little bit of slack, and we try to take it a mile.
And even with smoking it, because ultimately a lot of these jobs, they're not hiring you. So it's legal here to see it's all a setup. Like, it's legal, but now you can't get a job. Which means now you're going to do something crazy. You'll be in jail. Boom. It all works out.
I mean, let's take, for instance, you got the young man Josh Gordon, who was just let back into the National Football League for like a third time after a marijuana, you know, after testing dirty. My thing is, and if this happens again after so many times of you getting caught up in it, bro, you need to step away from football, focus on your life, because this is way bigger than football right now. Because now you're becoming habitual now. Now we've caught you. Now the spotlight's on you for real. Because if he mess up again, now what?
But here's my catch to that. I love that they're still giving him a chance after four or five
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
But this is my job, right?
Sure.
We work. If you've ever worked in a casino, and you tell your employer in a casino, I have a problem, it is their duty to get you help.
Absolutely.
So just from that standpoint, when does the NFL say we need to get this man help?
Well, that's the thing. They actually have. They have tried to give him help. They have sent him to he actually checked himself in to a rehab facility. So he was ahead. So to retract, that's something going on within his mind at that point that we got to explore, and he got to get away from football at that point. We got to help the young man forget football.
But to the mass incarceration question, it's all about what it really is about laws that are put on the books.
I didn't want to get too far into it, man. I was just using that as an example, man. I'm sorry.
In my mind, I'm thinking, let the ball back.
LTTV. 2 o'clock today, man.
What happens is we have laws that are put in place that are improper. They have crazy consequences. So that crazy consequences. We just this past legislative session, we've been still fighting to get traffic tickets and the warrants afterwards be decriminalized. Like, because you got people like legit sitting in jail because they didn't pay a traffic ticket. And so,
we'll be sitting for a while.
We're gonna be sitting for a minute. So and then it ends up that also you didn't pay a traffic ticket, now you got a warrant. Then you got a warrant, so then that turns into you now driving without a license or driving on a suspended license, and then you have thousands of dollars in fines. And the judge say you can sit down $100 a day, or you can give me $500 now and get out and get back on payments. And you ain't got a job because you lost your job sitting in jail for a week trying to see the judge, and it's all
arrested on no Friday.
Yeah, look,
it's all bad.
Or shoot, Northtown they close on Friday.
On Monday.
Look. And
Thursday's even worse.
You literally sit there and
We know this stuff.
you have laws that are disproportionately affecting certain communities, like I know what I'm saying, and it's laws that should not be penalized in the way they are. Like, and we criminalize things that shouldn't be criminalized, and there are other. It's not like there's a lack of imagination. You go to other countries and they have a way. America should not have as many folk in prison. Statistically,
sure.
If you just look at the percentage of folk who are in prison in America, it doesn't make any sense. So there are other countries that have figured out how to make sure that dangerous people are off the street, how to make sure that that people who have done something so egregious to society that they need to be put away. But now we're having people for dumb stuff.
Which is real. I'm gonna say this, and I got to bounce.
Okay.
So which is the God honest truth, because it sucks to say, okay, I got to go to court and I'm praying the judge feels good that day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You are literally in a situation where you are at the mercy of, how does he feel today?
Or don't go to court because you're scared that if the judge ain't feeling good, so now I'm not gonna go to court.
Right. So like my story, testimony, I remember getting a DUI, sitting in a holding cell. The next day I went before the court, and I'm sitting here, and you get to watch everybody else go. That's in with you. So you're
Yeah.
literally standing in line, watching their video, watching what's going down. So this lady, this black lady, she's up there with the judge, and she's like, "Yo, judge, I know what I did was wrong. I stole some chicken from Smith's, but me and my kids were homeless, and I did it just to feed my family." And I'm sitting here like, y'all, for everybody that was raising babies, you know who 180 days is. So I'm sitting here watching, and I'm like, oh snap, let's see how this play out. So I'm like, I dig at the end of the day, she did something wrong. But there was a moral purpose behind it. Like, I can't let my kids go hungry. I gotta figure this thing out. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at it like, I could see this judge saying, you know, I'm good. You did your time served over the weekend, bounce. But he looked at her and said, say that again. And she was like, I stole from my kids. No. After that, I know what I did was wrong. Good, 180 days. And I was like, oh, I'm a rap right now, because he is super in a bad mood. But then I watched the next lady, don't look like us. She literally, at the end of the day, she's arrested for a DUI, and she's going before the court. And at the end of the day, when he sentenced her and gave her this deal or whatever, at the end of the day, it was like, okay, we're gonna reduce this to a reckless driving and be out by midnight.
That's right.
Wow.
Like, seriously?
You know what, I would say to that, I'm also from Michigan, and there was a time when my aunt had a white party. Out at the white party, you know, everybody, when they toast to the person, so once again, I don't know a lot about being pulled over because I also grew up in Wichita. So I'm now back in Detroit, and I get pulled over out there. I'm not driving my car. I had the toast, but everybody else went above that. So I decided to drive the car. I get pulled over. And they asked me, did I have something to drink? I did say yes. I probably shouldn't have, but I still said yes because I had the toast. They arrested me. They took me in for a DUI.
Wow.
Later on, it comes.
This was in
Michigan. Yes. And so
So
they find out that my family is law.
That's right.
So my uncle came down there, and when my uncle came down there, they let me go. They still had to process the paperwork. And I've seen the other side, I still had to go to court. And I'm sitting here with the prosecutor. And the prosecutor is telling me, so you feel that you should not be charged for this because you were not driving your car. That was not because something was wrong with the plates on the car. He told me, you feel like you shouldn't be charged for this ticket because you were not driving the car, right? And I'm sitting here like, yeah, you know, so I've seen where if you have family in the law, they will walk you through the situation and get your name off of stuff. And so it's just crazy seeing both sides and hearing everybody's story.
Mass incarceration.
Take 17.
There are many people who might deem this a conspiracist type theory. I just flow in that realm. There are a lot of books that have been written long before 2019. And so when I look at mass incarceration, my feel about that is population control. Because if I lock your men up, the women can't produce kings and queens. If I lock your men up, your family structure is going to be devastating. So when I look at mass incarceration, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Now we got to flip the script and do what we need to do, and we got to protect our families. Which means for every parent out there, you got to talk to your children and let them know this is the world we live in right now, boys and girls. You know, when we having them late night sessions on the tour, I share with cats. We did dumb stuff growing up, and the only thing somebody got to do is scream whatever. We doing life, life. And so we gotta work extra hard in 2019, 2020 to protect our family. I'm gonna say this, and it could be, I could be wrong. But walls are not always built to keep people out. Walls can also be built to keep people in. And so you got to look at You got to look at this country we live in and ask yourself, man, where's the real plantation?
That's the real one.
Where is the real plantation?
It's a good hashtag. That's a good hashtag.
Yeah, because you're gonna pick some. Once upon a time, you was picking cotton. Then you started picking crack. So we got to ask ourselves today,
Where's the real?
what are we picking now? Because that's what we know. We know how to pick with the best of them.
Wow.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody else on mass incarceration?
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, my nephew, he's in prison right now, and I just want to thank all of y'all because you're giving me more insight as to what he is, possibly dealing with. Now, he's like a supervisor, in whatever current field that he's, working in. Y'all, I went to go visit him in May. And, it was just so nice to see him. And I was like, ooh, BJ, I love that shirt. He was like, I made it. And I'm like, man, like he knows how to do curtains. He knows how to, now he just learned how to start making clothes and stuff. So, just to, hear all of this, especially the financial side of it. I knew that, things are inflated, but not to the point where, y'all are like really expounding on the inflation, and I'm just like, whoa, like I'm really like holding back tears, y'all, because I don't know what he's going through. Now the beautiful thing right now is since my first time going to visit him, he's been in there about 12, 13 years now. All that time he didn't really have any visitors. He's out in Lovelock. One time my sister and them went and visited him. And then last year, me, my daughter, my mom, his mom, and his son, we went to go visit him. So at that point, that's when he got to actually meet Imani, for a good relationship. Since then, she's been writing them. Man, she writes them. They talk on the phone all the time, y'all. And then now my daughter, she has incorporated where she would send him crossword puzzles to make him do. She would write them up, right? She would send him my boys. They'll have to write a letter. He's correcting the letters, and he'll send it back to the boys. Y'all don't know. This is blessing me so much. And then now I'm seeing that and how it's and it's helping the boys too.
He wakes up.
He looks for that.
He's looking for that.
Y'all, right now I have a letter in the car that I'm waiting to send to him, and I'm like, man, now I'm feeling kind of horrible because I don't contact him that much.
Give him vivid details. When I talk to guys, when they call me. When I say boom, boom, room, I tell them this is what I'm eating.
Yeah.
I'm eating the steak. I got the potatoes. I got this on. They say talk slow. This is what I'm getting ready to do today. This is what the game look like. This is what this movie. They're like, man, give me details.
They call it talking grease.
Yeah,
talking grease.
Yeah, because I want to be there with you.
Yeah.
And on that money piece,
I'm about to ask my husband if I could add him into our budget.
But ask him, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Because what people don't understand, this is why my testimony, people hear it, it's like, man, in my former life, I was red from Shawshank Redemption. Because I was red and I could get things, it kept me out of trouble. So when you're incarcerated and you don't have these basic necessities, you're going to get them some way, somehow. That's right.
And you know what that
Come on.
I'm trying to get my
True.
words together, but that was a situation that my younger brother found himself in because there was a time where nobody could really send the amount that he wanted. So look,
Come on.
you're going to go over here and do and borrow and just a really crazy situation. And I thought to myself, it upset my mom, but then it's kind of like, well, what did you
That's
supposed to do?
reality.
It's the reality.
But you know what? But yet he's sending he sends them birthday gifts. He sends. I'm like, man, he sent money so that we can send another inmate some money. He does.
Wow.
Man, y'all.
I think one of the most touching things I ever got was a tithing check from prison.
Wow.
That moment right there was like somebody go, man, Pastor, you're a little aggressive on Sunday. Yeah. Because if this guy is locked up and he tithing, man, go somewhere.
Y'all tripping.
Really.
Y'all tripping.
Yeah, miss me in
Miss
today.
me. Miss me.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, I was just gonna say, just in a nutshell, man, it really sucks, but us right here at this table, I think insight has been given for us to be able to curve it. It can be curved. It can be curved with education, knowledge.
Absolutely.
I think that's not being talked about enough in reference to mass incarceration. We have to be educated enough to curve it. It can be curved.
yeah,
We gotta educate ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to.
yeah. I know, like, another piece that I really wanted to have us discuss, because of the different expertise that you guys all bring, is the difference. There's a lot of us that know, but some don't know, the difference between parole and probation, and the difference between a realistic parole or probation time frame and one that is just completely just erroneous.
Right.
And you can start with
My close family member, no, I see my brother. My brother was out on probation, and was arrogant, extremely arrogant, and thought he could keep doing what he was always doing and just being slick and getting by. First meeting, put it back. First meeting, and now I'm gonna tell you the part I was mad about. I'm like, you've been running by these dudes. Why these dudes ain't teach you nothing? They so down for you. They didn't teach you nothing. They didn't teach you that when you go to your meeting, you need to do this. You need to make sure that all that kind of stuff. And when we were in at Florence McClure on Thursday, one of the inmates, she said, you know what, Mr. Horsford, my boss, Mr. Horsford, this problem I have. I go for the board, and that I'm eligible. Because I'm eligible for parole, I pass everything, but then they don't like the place I want to go live.
So parole is something that you pursue while in prison.
Yeah, so probation is like basically like, hey dog, you did mess up, but let's see if you can get it right. And on the other side, you done messed up and you done sat down for a while, but instead of you doing a full 15, we're gonna let you out a little early and let you do the rest. Because you still
Still on paper.
You still on papers.
Still on paper.
As we tell you, still on paper. So if you mess up, you going back. But people I think get it twisted and they think because I'm not behind bars, I'm not behind bars.
Right.
But you on papers.
It's so sad. One of my clients the other day, I was like, where are you at? You haven't made it to the office yet. And he has an ankle monitor on, and he's homeless, so he's not able to charge it. So he's like, my battery's about to go down. I'm just trying to find a place to charge, because if it goes, anything could happen, and it's just like, and I kind of felt like, I kept thinking he was talking about the battery on his phone, on my leg, like it's real. Where are you supposed to charge? He charging it on the bus. I guess they got chargers on the bus now.
But just even with that situation, and then Pastor, I want you to go ahead and address the parole and probation situation, but it comes down to the terms. Like when, I don't even know if the judge takes into consideration that this young man has nowhere to live, and I'm going to put him on an ankle monitor that requires charging, and this is going to be the term of his probation or parole.
The crazy part about it is they ask for addresses. Like those are, because we have probation come through the jail. Every day I see it's mostly ladies that come and do the paperwork, but I see these people every day. And they ask, the first question they ask these dudes, what's your address? Where do you live? Because we need to know this stuff. So first we know where to find you. And second that we know you have somewhere you got a roof over your head, somewhere to go.
That's why.
Nothing to put you on the street and you ain't got nowhere to go.
Is important. Because I'm writing, I'm in talks with a guy right now. His fear is, when I get out, I don't have a place to go because my family will not talk to me. So when I get out, what do I do, Rev? What do I do? So watch this. When we talk about the parole and probation piece, and I'm not a legal expert, this is my prayer for our community. This is my prayer. And Shakara and I were talking about this a little bit before we started the broadcast. We need businesses. The reason why we need businesses is because once upon a time in Las Vegas, you could get a guy a job in the back of the house. Those jobs are gone now. Entry-level jobs are gone. And so we need businesses where when a guy comes home and he just wants to take care of himself, we need to be able to say, you're hired.
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
not only, so that's economics. Now when it comes to the legal system, we need lawyers. We need judges. Because remember, I'm throwing myself on the mercy of the court. And if him or her in that role is not merciful, I don't receive mercy.
Right.
And so when it comes to what's fair and what's fair and what's unfair, we have to study trends. And if I don't know what you give in this group of people, this group of people, this group of people, I don't know what to fight or march for. And that's why we're sharing with you, we are fighting for bail reform because it's unfair.
True.
That's good.
Yeah.
I tell cats all the time, you know, that go out on, you know, on probation. If there's a limited amount of time left on your sentence, finish your sentence.
Finish
Don't go out
your
on paper.
sentence.
You're getting set up, bro.
That's right.
Don't do that.
Wow.
I keep it a buck with them. Hey man, if you got 6 months left,
Do it.
go ahead and do that 6 months, dog. Go out free and clear that paper. Because the checking in every day, the calling, like this has to be done on an everyday basis. They can pull up on you, do it random on you at any given time. You can, it could be in the middle of the night. They can pull up on you and do it random. Wake you clean up out your sleep and put a random drug test on you. Finish your sentence, man. Go out scot-free, man, and go home to your family.
We had a constituent call the office, said, "Hey, I need help," and it sounded like a really fanciful. Like it sounded crazy.
I like the word.
It was just
Fanciful.
he just laid the fuck out. He said,
Go
"What
home, I
happened?"
feel
That's a little West word. Yeah, that's another West word.
But he said my ankle bracelet keeps jumping and saying that I'm not at home, but I am at home. And I said, I've been, if you been trying to play me, I'm like, and so he called back. I'm like, all right, well, I'll call down. I'll see what I can do. He said my parole officer will not allow me to. I take that back. He went on parole. He was on bail. He said, well, he won't let me go to jail. The judge said I got to go to work. Excuse me. Said he won't let me go to work. My work hours are this. He said he won't change my hours so I can go to work. The judge said I can go to work, but the judge also said this is my curfew. And usually people just common sense says outside of work or whatever, this is your curfew. No, so he said now I have to reduce my work hours, but now I got to pay all this money every month for being at home. He said, so this is just messing me up. Next thing we know, I'm emailing, calling him, and then finally his fiance calls him back, said he got picked up and couldn't return your phone call. We were talking, and he was saying he got to call you back, but he got picked up. What happened? His ankle bracelet jumped. And we already told them that this particular ankle bracelet, basically what it'll do, for a split second, it'll say it's somewhere else, and then pop right back up at the house. She said, so then we got cops home, so that you can see every time we open the door, you have the camera, so that you can check our cameras, show us where, right? And I said, well, the court ain't really trying to look at no home camera system.
Right.
He said, but still, I'm sorry, Mr. Austin, but I promise you, we're like fighting all this. They say, well, and then I said, well, they also said that they excuse the term, he pissed dirty. That's what they told me. They said, but that's why he got arrested for smoking. So if you test him right after he got arrested, of course he pissed dirty because that's already in his system. And we told them, so eventually lose his job. Had to sit down for almost 3 weeks before we're fighting to get him in front of the judge early. Right? And then what they're telling me is we always have problems with this officer. We always have problems. This is what the PD's office telling me. We always have problems with this officer every time. And we go down there and we try to talk to him, but you don't want to. I don't want to call there, call his boss and be like, listen, because all that's going to do is add extra stress. I said, y'all don't want me to make that call because that's going to be bad for y'all. But this is people's real life. Me like, yeah, I did make this mistake, but while we try to figure out what it's going to be, I need to take care of my family as well as I can. And there are all these barriers that are set up that, like I said, it's set up just setting him up for failure. And not even knowing, you got faulty technology on this man. And it's your fault. You got faulty technology. It's your fault that the judge wasn't clear in saying he can't go to work. So now his resources are depleted, are diminished. His fiance's having to take extra jobs, all this. And like, sitting on the phone, because at first we go, I said, man, this dude is making up a beautiful story. It's a lie. That's what I'm thinking at first. Like, it's a lie. Because they always call lies, you know what I mean? And when you dug down into it, it's like, man, this man's family is hurting. Not that he didn't do something wrong, or we don't even know because he ain't been adjudicated whether he did it or not.
Yeah.
He's on bail.
Yeah. It's this situation, the reason why I wanted to talk about this, because outside of the 5, there were 2 other individuals that really stood out to me was, of course, the Brian Banks situation and then the Meek Mill situation. And then, typically from what I learned, but you can also correct me if I'm wrong, that the violation of the probation usually comes from the parole officer or the probation officer. But within the Meek Mill situation, his judge was violating him often for technical violations. And it was almost associated with, so he talks about where he had to submit his tour schedule to her. So she knew where he was, what he was supposed to be doing. But he talked about a situation where Hurricane Sandy hit in New York, and that was where the TRL Live was.
Right.
There's no planes flying out. I can't get to Atlanta tonight.
Flying.
So okay, well, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive back to Philly and I'm going to fly out of Philly. Well, on the way back to Philly, you get pulled over on the freeway because the 10 is too dark. So now you sit in jail, you don't get charged because it's social media time. They take pictures. The police, they post it on social media. Probation officer doesn't get involved, but the judge is overly interested in his situation and sees the pictures. So now you have a technical violation, now you're back in front of the judge. So I said all that to say, like, even with some of but I feel like these people were at an advantage because of who they were. How many more of our people are in a situation where their probation guidelines or terms are just really unrealistic? Like, how do you I guess, for lack of better words, assist them in navigating? Because again, I'm sure that my brothers are going to come home with some type of papers, and it's almost like, for me, it's not that they have nowhere to go. I really don't want them going to where they were. Because the environment,
you got a cousin that's a felon, you can't go to your grandma's house. Because you got a cousin that's a felon. If I got a pistol in my house, you can't come to my house, I got a pistol. They got a certain type of dog. It's like all types of extreme.
That was Raymond Santana, because it's what's beautiful about how the sister captured the story was she gave us a different glimpse of it. So Raymond Santana, how they used his story was to show us the difficulty when you come home. And all the different things we had to go to. My dad I can't stay with my dad. His new wife tripping. I'm trying to work. I got all these feelings. And so to answer the question, how do we help when somebody comes home with any type of paperwork, we have to do a better job of sitting and listening to that person's reality. Because sometimes we're so quick to say, man, you're trying to get over it, you're trying to run game, you're giving me excuses. When you really sit down and dissect this situation, it's unfortunate. In order for you to survive, you got to hustle again. And that's an unfortunate reality.
And that's the part of it, like you said something
that's
really important to me, in that, our first instinct is to question. Because of the stigma. Like, I had someone tell me one time, most criminals have the antisocial personality disorder, meaning they're really good at persuading you, getting you, you know what I mean? All of these characteristics.
They sit there and do it all day.
So, your first instinct is to question the validity of the story. I remember I heard Mr. Emmett saying, he thought the dude's story was, what he was talking about. But how do we kind of get to a place as a people that we can sit and actually listen the friends, the loved ones when they come home to get, because I feel like though they're adults and they're supposed to have a level of independence, they still need so much of our help when they first come home. You know what I mean? And some of them will go back. I mean, but I feel like when you kind of help them in setting them up for success, the likelihood that they'll return is a little bit less likely. You know what I
I
mean?
think it might lead us to go back to the question of the name of the documentary, When They See Us. So it's like when you see people, like, what do you see? When you saw those, they were kids, but what did the prosecutors, what did you see? Did you see grown, angry, aggressive black men? They were babies. Like when you see people that come home from jail, this could be your brother, this could be your mother. Like when they see us, like what do you see? It's like every day I work in mental health, I have people come, when I see them, like they can be homeless, they can be dirty, stink. I see somebody, God's child. So that's what I see. So first and foremost, that's how I'm treating you. Like I don't see, I've been on the Today Show, I've done different things in my life. I've sat with the highest and the lowest, but like I see the same thing. So, and I think that's important. What are we seeing? And then that would be like, even as a parole officer, what do you see? A probation, what do you see? And then if we could just see them in a different light or try, there are going to be people that are who you think they are, but like we have to give people chances.
Give them a shot.
And be honest. And we want to share this. Be honest. Everybody can't see the same thing in people. So if you don't see it because sometimes it's too close to home. So you can have a brother come home and you can be angry with the fact, man, that's my brother. I'm angry with what you did to our family. So now it's too personal. So you know what? I need to hand you off to somebody that don't see what I see. And who's willing to give you another shot, because if the truth be told, I'm not there.
It's a great perspective.
And we need to really be honest with our loved ones so that when they come home, they're not coming home to false hope. Because a lot of times people say that, man, the people come home and they throw them a barbecue. So you give me this barbecue, I'm thinking it's love. Now the next day you telling me to get on my feet. How? Right. You should. I wish I had saved barbecue money. Right.
That's one thing I could say. That's one thing I could say about my sister and me. We weren't willing to do the time. We had a cousin and he did about 13, 14. We did pretty much none of the time with it. But she was like, when you get home, it's gonna be right for you. The car gonna be set. Your money gonna be set. Whatever we tripping, wherever you want to go, we gonna go. We good. I can't. That's not what I do. I don't do time with people. But when you get home, you're gonna be good. And he's been good, And he's a job. He's a manager. He's good. But and I think that's the best thing you can do when people are locked up. Be honest. And was it right? No, we couldn't. Looking back now, we could have handled the situation better. But that was our truth. We're young. We're not doing. We're not doing this time with you. But when you get home, I guess I just saw him put on the other day. He's flying out. Like he just does his thing now. Like he's good and he hasn't missed a beat. And there's things inside of him that he still needs to work on. There's a lot of mental health. But like that wasn't the issue. He wasn't worried about where he was gonna get a job, where the money was gonna come from, cars and everything. Shopping, we gonna do shopping. We did shopping.
We got you. But when we don't. I have children, you can't stay in my house. I have girls, you can't stay in my house. We gotta be honest. It doesn't mean I don't love you, but this is how I'm gonna love you when you come home.
Hey, I know, I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna go ahead and do some closing remarks. But I know for me, that's my thought process. With me being the eldest of 5, but I've said that to them while they're there. Like it might not be a situation where you come live with me, you know what I mean? Because I know, I know how I feel and how I'm going to express myself if it comes down between you and my child. You know what I mean? So I've said that to them then, but that's the conversation that we're having now. But I'll do everything I can to help you. So just so that we can go ahead and kind of bring this thing full circle for the people sitting here and the people that are watching, if you could leave us and the people watching with any lasting encouragement, information, what would it be?
So I mentor young men through my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Sigma Beta Club. And, there are several of us that are law enforcement officers that are, in the profession. And we tell them, seemingly on a daily basis, do not hold court in the street.
That's right.
Do not hold court in the street. Carry yourself in a manner to where you don't have a microscope on you. You don't allow the voice to sag. You must, when you got on a belt, tuck in your shirt. Wear your pants up. These are little things, right? And we look at them as, oh, that's just innocent, childhood stuff. But these are little things that draw microscopes. So we have them do the little things that will never turn into big things later on. And my thing is, just for encouragement, educate yourselves. Educate yourselves on what's going on in your neighborhoods. Educate yourself on the law. Because if you're not educated, you can't say, oh, he just on me because I'm black. No, educate yourself. Know what you can and what you can't do. But know when you just get messed with for no reason. You'll be able to do that and not just talking aimless. Educate yourself. Education is the most important thing I can leave our people with. You must educate yourself, man. Please, I beg you, educate yourself.
Yeah, don't, to those listening, don't think because we've had a person sit in the White House, we've had a sister have a successful talk show, we've made records, now we own labels and we score touchdowns and all that type of stuff. There's still people that see us in a way that's not human. And so we have to do everything we can as a people to make sure we put our best foot forward each and every day. There's a hip hop line that says this type of stuff doesn't happen every day. But when it comes to the Exonerated 5, this type of stuff happens every day. And we can't live as if it doesn't. And so to those who are behind walls, if you have family members who are behind walls, take the conversation we're having today. Love on your people. Love on your people.
I don't have anything profound to say. I guess I would just say, definitely how we're looking at the Exonerated 5 and their story. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. Years from now, our kids are going to be like, wow, y'all were going through this. They can't believe, kids can just go to the store and get shot down for wearing a hoodie. Like, we're still, the rest of the world, they're looking at us like we're crazy. Like this, we're trying to build walls, keep them out. I don't think they want to come. Certain of them, like, it's, so we definitely need to educate ourselves, and it's just not about what's going on in your household. We have to get to the point of what's going on next door and building a community, where we talk and we share, we love one another.
Yeah, that was
I would say knowledge is power, and just love. Basically, just love. This was really deep to me because I have a young boy growing up, so I'm trying to teach him, the best way I can. But basically, love is power, and just love. Love your family, love anybody that's in your family, as far as that's behind bars, and just don't give up on them.
For me, I'm going to say again, after listening to everything, there have been multiple occasions as to where I didn't have my kids back the way that I should have. Starting with my daughters, I've allowed people to just talk so negatively into their lives, and I didn't protect them. And which is, just recently I've talked to them about that, and I had to apologize because they're still traumatized, behind that to this very day. So my thing is to have your kids back. Period, point blank. Now we know that the kids they don't always, tell the truth. They're going to tell you sometimes what, you're going to believe them because they're your kid. But yet, I don't always believe my kids just because they're my kid. I think it was Ender that was saying that that look, oh, you ain't telling the truth, or okay, you telling the truth. So now I just need to make sure my heart is connected with them in the right way, to where I know, okay, you telling the truth. I ain't about to let this happen to you again. It's not gonna happen, so that's it.
After listening to all of this, we need to be there for our people. Communication, like you were saying, giving vivid things. I like even JK, you can send pictures so they can see things. But I will also say, be aware, be educated, but with that, make sure that when you have people that are coming out, you find out what resources are currently available. Because we have the Walter Holding Home that's available. You just want to know what's out there to help guide them through coming back to society and having what they need to function.
This is good. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is really good. And I would hope that, those that are watching, they've learned something, they've been encouraged. Until next time, see you guys later.